This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, including love, life, confidence, dating and relationships, self-love and self-care. Whether you're asexual or a different sexual orientation, if this is the information you need to hear, you're welcome to be here. Stay respectful. So have you ever been in a position or a situation where you've had someone that you've been vulnerable with and who's left you? Are you a guy watching this right now who's got this in his head that every time I get vulnerable with a girl, she leaves me? If so, this is the episode for you. So I'm in a private forum. I cannot divulge all the details because of confidentiality. But in the forum, this guy was asking for any tips, right? I gave him my full advice on this situation. So his basis is basically, his foundation, if you like, is he said he's authentic, kind, romantic, but his situation ended saying every time he's vulnerable with a girl, she runs away. So any tips, any advice? So as I've been in dating and relationships expertise, if you like, now for over 10 years on this channel. Well, this is the 10th year actually. So yeah, 2015 I started this channel. So but I've been online dating since 2014, although I've taken a break from it last year. So I've known about dating and relationships pretty consistently for 10 years. I'm in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club, which is an online coaching club. It's got loads of courses on there and different components of relationships and dating. And he's the world's #1 dating and confidence coach. He's the best at what he does. So I'm learning from the best. And I've also got my own knowledge of things that I've learned and experienced in my life. Right, so this guy, I really wanted to help, and I thought I'd share my insights with him. So whether you're a guy who is into girls, or you're a girl who's into guys, or you're transgender or non-binary, whatever, however you identify, you know, this video is for you if you worry about being vulnerable and, you know, what happens. Like, why does someone keep leaving me when I'm vulnerable, right? I've specifically phrased this as a guy saying it about a girl, but it can equally apply to any gender. But I think it's important to address the situation, a guy with a girl, because this is what was actually discussed in this forum. It was a guy who was talking about this. Right. So, to answer the question about what should you do in this situation. Now, if you read a lot of stuff online, you'll notice there's a lot of forums that say, oh, a guy should never be vulnerable with a girl. And if you are, it's a real turn off for a girl. You should never do it. Don't do it. They see it as a sign of weakness. Let me tell you, any girl who sees it a sign of weakness, that you are vulnerable with her, is no good for you, right? There is no way that you should ever worry about being vulnerable in the sense of actually being your true authentic self. Being vulnerable is not a weakness. It's in fact a huge strength. It's a huge strength. To suppress and repress your emotions, thoughts and feelings is unhealthy. Being vulnerable, sharing how you feel, is a strength, not a weakness. And the only way you can build a strong emotional connection with someone is by being vulnerable. So I want to dispel this myth about, oh, women don't like guys who are vulnerable. Those women that don't want vulnerable guys, they are no good for a guy in a healthy way. They're just looking for some like macho guy, masculine guy to the point of toxic masculinity, basically. They treat them mean to keep them keen type. The playing games type. You don't want to deal with those type of women, right? You don't want to be looking for a woman who's just out for like a guy who's like tough, macho, all this lot, but a very unhealthy guy who can't share his emotions, can't express his feelings with you, and therefore is not going to be able to really understand and have empathy with your own feelings and emotions. So you don't want to worry about the women who are not interested in you being vulnerable with them. If they're not interested in you being vulnerable with them, they're not your person. They're not going to be able to build a connection with you in a healthy way. not in a friendship or a relationship. Obviously, this is relationship talk we're talking about now, real relationship talk, not all this bullshit that you see online about, oh, don't be vulnerable, be mysterious, play games, don't give everything away to a woman, don't only text her back in a certain amount of time, give it several hours. This is bullshit, people. This is game playing. Yes, you should get on with your day. Yes, you should get on with your work and stuff, but you shouldn't be playing games. Oh, I'll leave it for half a day, or I'll leave it for a day. She can wait. This is not healthy, right? You go about your day and you respond accordingly, like you would when you really care about someone, right? Don't be I've had, especially younger guys, this guy that was posting this forum, he's 23, just to give you some background. But I hear a lot from younger guys who haven't really done very what can I say, advanced stuff in relationship and dating, where they're like, oh, I've got to be mysterious, or someone said that I've got to like not reply within a certain amount of hours or days, and it's like, it's just bullshit. Be yourself, right? Obviously you don't want to be in a girl's inbox 24/7 messaging like several times every single like 10 minutes or something. That's excessive. But if you're having a back and forth conversation with your girl, that can last for hours, right? So, you've got to think, how would I be normally in this situation with someone I really care about? Is my behavior in keeping? But how would I be if I was to be my true authentic self with that person? How would I be if I'm not following the bullshit advice online about playing games, treat them mean to keep them keen, be mysterious, only show part of you to them, right? If you are looking for a serious committed relationship rather than just to hook up or a casual fling or something like this, if you're looking for something really serious and deep, you want to be looking for someone who's a team player who can build with you. You want to be looking for someone who is actually going to be vulnerable and share their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because you two, the people, if you're monogamous, just two people, you are going to go through a hell of a lot together. And if you can't share your true thoughts, feelings, and emotions with the other person, it's not going to be healthy, right? And obviously, if someone's sharing their thoughts, their feelings, emotions, you might not always like what that person is saying, and vice versa. So you do need to try and say it in a compassionate, caring, understanding, empathetic way. You need to talk about people's behaviors and how they make you feel rather than the person themselves. And be attacking on a person, but you also do need to show the vulnerable side to you, right? So if we take into account the fact that a lot of people on forums, Reddit, Quora, wherever you go, you always see these things like, oh, you shouldn't tell a woman different things, shouldn't share emotion, she'll see it as a weakness. If we leave aside all that bullshit, because quite frankly it is, excuse my language, and we actually understand why someone might leave you who's a healthy person, for example, when you're vulnerable, right? Let's take that into consideration and let's discuss this. Now, I wrote back to this guy in this private forum and I gave him advice about this situation. This is my personal advice. You can take it, you can leave it, you can do what you like with it, but I am sharing it with you. Thank you to everyone here who's in chat. I really appreciate you being here. Hello, Jonathan. I very much agree with having 100% authentic in any friendship / relationship. So yes. Right. What would you do if I was autistic, which I am, and someone was bullying me? If you're autistic and someone is bullying you, then you need to leave the person who's bullying you because you deserve better. Right? I have my best friend's autistic. I have another friend who's autistic. Many of my friends are autistic. I don't go around behaving like that towards them. So if someone's bullying you in a relationship or friendship, you should leave it because it's unhealthy for you. You should just say, thank you for your time. Thank you for the connection. But I've decided this is not for me. I mean, you don't even owe them anything, though. If they're bullying you, you just leave them, block them off your social media, off your phone, leave the connection, this type of thing. So, but they kept on following me around the school and they are in my lessons. So in that case, you need to go to a teacher because that's harassment. If you've got a teacher or counsellor at your school, you should confide in the teacher or counsellor. Because they have no right to follow you. And if they're in your lessons, obviously it's difficult, but it's harassment. It's harassment. So, Jonathan, that sounds awful. Yeah, it does sound really, really awful. I'm sorry you're going through that. So it's really difficult. Try and confide in someone you think is trustworthy. You know, they should not be doing that with you. There's no need for it. You know what I mean? They sound like a very ignorant person, and I'm sorry you're going through that. So they won't do anything because they haven't seen it firsthand. That's really horrible. That's really horrible. If you've got any counsellor or therapist you can ask, or I don't know, maybe if you can't, maybe phone the Samaritans and ask their advice and say about your situation, see if they've got any advice for you. I mean, it's hard when they haven't seen it, but that's what people do who bully and harass people. They literally do it on the sly, so no one else can see them doing it. They're probably nice as pie to other people. Do you know what I mean? So you have to understand you're dealing with an abusive person, unfortunately. And obviously they want to intimidate you and control you, manipulate you. That's why they're doing it. And I'm sorry you're going through this. And this does happen in friendships and relationships as well, you know. And if it's at school, it's really hard because without changing schools, if they won't listen, I mean, can you talk to your parents about it or not? Or will they not do anything anyway? It's really hard. I was bullied at school. I just want you to know that you are valid. You deserve to be here in life. And I'm sending you so much love right now. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. Just know you won't be in school forever. And just keep trying to focus on your self-growth and loving yourself, because that's the most important thing. You know, no, you're in secondary school, so I don't have anyone except for my head of years, and they call me. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's not true. The horrible things they say about you are definitely not true. And I want you to know this. They are not healthy people who are doing this to you. There are very bad and very abusive people who are calling you these names at school. I was bullied for my weight at school. I'm not a skinny girl now, but I don't care what people think or say to me now. But it's a lot harder when you're in school because it's a confined area. Do you know what I mean? And I'm proud of my curves. I'm proud of my body, even though I'm not a skinny girl. I like the voluptuous me. I like my nice physique with my big boobs and my big butt and my big hips. You know what I mean? So if that, you know what I mean? But yeah, I used to get called horrible stuff to do with my weight. Do you know what I mean? About fat and stuff like that. I'm like, whatever. Now I'm whatever. I wasn't back then because obviously I was very vulnerable. And people used to mock the way I looked and everything and what I wore and all sorts of stuff. But now I'm like, I really don't care. So yeah. So yeah, I'm really sorry. But just remember that you're not alone, even though you feel like alone. Like there are people that go through that, but I know it's really difficult for you to, just remember you are in this world for better things and you're incredible and amazing. You know, like I was bullied in school and, you know, had people being really nasty to me for a lot of years. But then when I got to college, it started to get a bit better. And then when I was 15, I believed I was born for a special purpose. It has to do with the media of 15 years old because of the bullying and stuff. And I just thought all of a sudden, like, I don't know if you're spiritual, but if you tap into like God and the universe and stuff like that, I bet they have some good plans for you. And I thought at 15, like spiritually, I thought, oh, all of a sudden it came to me like, you're born for a special purpose, Sandra. You're born for a special purpose. It's something to do with the media. I don't know what it is, but you're born for a special purpose. And I held on to that for all the rest of the time of my life, just thinking things will get better, things will get better, things will get better, and keep realizing that. But I'm so sorry they just keep doing it. They want to provoke you. And they want to manipulate you and control you, and just know that they can't do that to you. They can't manipulate you. They can't control you, even though they try to do, because you are resilient and you are strong and you're a beautiful person. And I'm so sorry they're doing this to you. It's okay to feel the way you do, by the way. Like, it's horrendous you're having to go through it. And what I hate about school the most, it's very confined. So it's like, you feel like it's hard to escape and everything. But just know that you won't be in school forever. You'll get out and you'll do better than they will in their life because they're just, you know, not being good to you. So it's not good. School is an awful place. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I was so glad to leave school. I was bullied in primary and secondary school, and it was horrible. Couldn't wait to get out of there. I used to study and stuff. I wasn't never a student. It was always 100% for effort, but but just know that whatever they do and say is not true. They just, and do things outside of school as much as possible that make you feel good about yourself, make you feel validated and wanted and needed and special, and know that you're beautiful just as you are. I mean, my best friend is on the autistic spectrum. We've been friends since I think it's 2017 now. So 8 years. Do you know what I mean? Autistic people have very, they're very special. And autistic people often have extra abilities that other people don't have. Do you know what I mean? Oliver, I have also had to use my service dog once because of my anxiety, and also have to bring my little sister into school because my mum goes to work and my dad is also at work, so I'm home alone. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It must be dreadful for you. I'm really sorry. Thank you for being here on this channel, by the way. Thank you for being part of my community here. So, yeah, I have anxiety. I have generalized anxiety disorder, in case you didn't know that. So I completely understand how you feel, and I understand all this bullying makes you feel stressed and anxious, but natural reaction because they're threatening you in the way that they're being aggressive towards you and what they're saying to you. It is threatening. So your body is like going through turmoil to try and protect you. Your anxiety's up because it's like, I really want to flee this situation. I don't want to be here in this situation. I need to go from this situation because it's not healthy and good for me. So your body is actually reacting correctly to these people being like that with you because it's trying to protect you. So your anxiety in this case is good in the sense it's right. It wants to protect you, and although they might not be physically trying to hurt you, I hope they're not, then the mental and emotional torture is real. And it's just sending love to both Olivia and Sandra. Thank you so much. And so it's hard. It's like mental and emotional manipulation and torture and trauma. And unfortunately, it does leave a lasting impression in you for years to come. You've just got to remember that they are ignorant people. They're nasty abusers. You are not them. They are not you. They do not get to tell you how to live your life. If someone says horrible, nasty things to you, it doesn't mean to say they're true about you. You get to choose what's true about you, not them. They have got no power over you in the sense that you're your own person. Regardless of how much they keep saying these things to you, it's not true. It's not nice. They're the ones who are in the wrong, not you. I want to make that perfectly clear. They are the ones in the wrong. They are the ones that are nasty. They are the ones that are horrible. They've also tried to fight with me, and they pushed me, and someone had whacked me. Oh my God, I don't even think I can read that out. If you've got physical stuff like that, did you go to the doctors to report it? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I really hope you get... Is there any... I would talk to the Samaritans or something like that, phone their number up and get some help, or anything to do with like mind or crisis or something like that, because this stuff shouldn't be going on in your school. And do you know what I mean? If you got concussion or anything to do with your head, then they should be arrested for that. I think I would say go to the hospital or doctor and get it recorded that you've actually got an injury or, problems with your head because you've been hurt on the head and stuff like this. Your parents should listen to you. You should be able to tell your parents this stuff. You really should be moved to another school. I know someone who was moved to another school because they had bullying. One of my friends, she moved her daughter to another school because it was just too much bullying. She actually moved her from the school I used to go to another school. I think she ended up homeschooling her in the end. That was right. She said, I'm homeschooling her because I'm not having someone be like that to my daughter. So, I definitely think like there should be like a social worker or social services or something. I think maybe try and phone the Samaritans. It's usually a free number. And I think phone the Samaritans and see if they've got any advice about any organisations that could help you. Olivia, yeah, they told me to stay away from them, but they keep on coming up to me and someone in year 7, but they have whacked me. This is awful. Tried to hit you. I'm so sorry. With a monkey noodle. I don't know what that is. This is really serious stuff. I mean, the police should be involved in this, like Jonathan said. Do you know what I mean? This is really severe bullying. I think you need to tell your parents, and if they don't do anything, or if you can't talk to your parents, then phone up the Samaritans. Do you know the Samaritans' phone number? Oh, it's a fidget toy. This sounds awful. I mean, you're being seriously bullied and abused, and they should stop that. So if you go online, if you've got access to a computer, you can type in the word Samaritans, and they're for people who are in crisis to talk to them. But if you tell them what's going on, they might be able to refer you to other organisations that can help, like social workers or social services or any, youth advisors, stuff like this. If you phone Samaritans and tell them what's going on, do you know what I mean? Because this has to stop. You can't keep going on like this. You definitely should. If your parents you can't talk to, then try and find an organisation that's not directly involved in your family to talk for you. I don't know what else to suggest, but you tried to go to work, but I keep on going dizzy. Oh my God. You work as well. I would really I feel really, really bad for you. Do you know what I mean? But you can't have that. You can't have the abuse. You know what I mean? So I would find an organisation like Mind, or I think it's Crises. But I would probably phone the Samaritans. If you've got access to a computer, phone the Samaritans and ask their advice. Just tell them that I'm experiencing this at school. Tell them all about the bullying, harassment, and discrimination, basically. And ask the Samaritans what you can do, like what organisations can help you. And do you know what I mean? Really, you need moving to another school if it's that bad like that. It's awful. Either the pupils need to be held accountable and suspended, and then kicked out, or you need to move schools by the sound of it. But I know that sometimes parents don't actually take it seriously that their kids are being bullied. They're like, oh yeah, that's just a little tease. It's just a bit of teasing and stuff like that. And it's like, it's really not. It's like, I know that the girls at school used to try to fight with me, and I used to refuse to do that with them. So it was awful. Do you know what I mean? They used to try and physically fight me. I'm only in year 8, so I told the head of year for 7, and they got put in reflection. It's good, but obviously when they come out, they can be worse, can't they? But it's good that they did that, but they need to actually address the situation properly. I would phone the Samaritans if I were you. I don't know what other organisation to call. Let me see. Like I would look up abuse in schools on the internet and see if there's any organisations that can help you. I don't know what to suggest. If I'm looking it up now, NSPCC, Protecting Children from Abuse in Schools. Because I'm on my phone at the moment, I can't put the link. Let me see. So it's the NSPCC. That's what says. I know I'm detracting a bit from the main topic of this live stream, but I think it's important to do this. So schools in the UK have a statutory responsibility to protect children from abuse. So I think the NSPCC services and stuff like that. So support for local community, NSPCC helpline. NSPCC helpline can help with safeguarding situation you face at work, whether you need advice and support or reassuring on a current safeguarding incident, or children protection specialists can help. So I don't know. That looks like I would call them maybe. Okay. Well, apparently that's for an organisation. This is for an organisation. I mean, I don't know you personally because I could phone and direct them to you, but apparently this is for an organisation or tutor or something that that works with children. But you could always contact them yourself. So Yeah, I would phone the Samaritans. I would phone the NSPCC yourself because it's an 0808 number, or email them and say, I'm actually a child myself. What organisation do I do to go to get help with this? Do you know what I mean? Because they should be helping you. They should not be, it's basically child abuse. That's what it is, and bullying, you know what I mean? So I'm actually on my laptop at the moment, so I'm not sure if I can put it in chat on here. Sorry, I'm on my phone, I mean. I'm not sure if I can go to put it in chat because I can't put links unless I go into my own live stream on my channel. I'm going to go into my own live stream on my channel, which will be really weird on my laptop now. Be really weird on my laptop now. Be really weird on my laptop now. Be really weird. See, that's me talking, so I had to stop myself. Right, okay. So I'm putting the link now to the NSPCC. I've turned my sound off and frozen myself. So there's the link on my laptop for you. Thank you to anyone else who's watching. It's really important, right? And then that's meant to be for organisations that help children, but you can phone for yourself or email. I would just by doing stuff like this, it helps empower you to put the situation, like, it helps to take your personal power back. That's why I'm asking you to do this, even though you're young, right? It's important you take your personal power back as much as possible, because they're trying to destabilize you, disempower you, and make out that you're in the wrong when you're not, and being cruel and abusive, right? So this can happen in dating relationships as well. So yeah, and also I'm going to put these links in for anyone else as well, because obviously it's important. Like, I was actually in a blackmail situation with one of my ex-boyfriends, the one that was 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, I was blackmailed by my boyfriend at the time. So things can happen really from a young age. So I'm going to put the Samaritans in here, and I strongly recommend contacting them, because I think they'll probably be able to help. So I'm just getting their details now. You can call Shushu. So you're only 12, turning 13 on June the 6th. Yeah, I mean, it's horrendous you have to deal with this, but thank you for sharing, and thank you for being brave and vulnerable enough to come on here and chat and explain your situation, because that takes a lot of damn courage. And I think anyone in chat should be praising Olivia for actually speaking up for herself. And I'm assuming you're a her, but if I've got your pronouns wrong, then I do apologize. Because just because you're called Olivia doesn't mean to say you're a her. But if you are a her or she, then you know what I mean. So yeah. So yes, I think this is really important. I'll contact the Samaritans and tell them your age, because really you should have a social worker or social services. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to put this in chat now. Okay, so there's a link coming up for the Samaritans. I would definitely call them and explain your situation and everything you said on here. The link's just gone in the chat now, so explain everything that you've told us, and try and get the help that you need. You might have to go to a few different organisations first. No problem, I'm at home, and yes, I'm a girl. Okay, thank you for confirming that. Just remember, anything that takes your personal power back and is empowering for you is a good thing, because they want to disempower you. They want to make you think you're in the wrong and something's wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly valid. They're the ones that have bad behavior, and they're the ones who are being abusive, right? This is none of your fault. This is them being ignorant, disgusting abusers. And the only way we stop these people is, we can't control what they do, but we can control how we react to it. Now, I'm not going to sit here preaching, going, ignore them and all this lot, because I know if someone's trying to fight you, it's very difficult. If someone's saying all this stuff and physically hurting you, you know, what can you do? It's not like you can actually ignore that. And if you ignore that, it's kind of ignoring yourself and repressing and suppressing your emotions. So whilst you can try and ignore them and try not to think about them, I know it's basically harassment. And even if you're not thinking about them, they'll keep coming back, won't they? So I strongly suggest you literally contact these organisations and see what help they can give you. And I know that I'm so proud of you, Olivia, right now, for being 12 and for coming on this channel and having the bravery and courage to tell your truth. I'm very, 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 very sorry this is happening to you, and thank you for being here. My name's Sandra, by the way, if you didn't know that. Asexualise, my asexual life is my actual it's my actual channel. I'm known as Asexualise because I'm asexual and sexual orientation. And quite a number of the people on the asexual spectrum also autistic, by the way. Not everyone, but quite a lot of them. So there's quite a lot of autistic people in my community. But regardless of sexual orientation, you're welcome here. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. This is I know what it's like because I've been in very similar situation to you and had some of the same sorts of things. Not exactly the same, I wouldn't say, but you know, the same types of things with weight and looks and what I wear and all sorts of stuff, and people try and pick fights, but what, you know, them actually physically hurting you and stuff, it's disgusting. And I can tell how anxious you are. I mean, it sounds good to have your service dog there, it really does. If you're able to bring it in more, it'd be good for you, I think, to have that kind of strength and you know, with you. If you can bring your dog in all the time, for example, or your sister coming in, anything. But your parents should really be contacting social services or something, or doing something about it. But I know some parents aren't always good parents, are they? I don't know what your parents are like, so I can't account for that. You know, I can't speak for them, but only you know if you can talk to them or not. But I'm so sorry you're going through this. I mean, sometimes you can get support if you've got autism as well within the school. There's like a special support worker which can actually help you. I don't know if you have, there was some people who were, I think, autistic in my school, special needs, and they did have someone with them in certain classes or all their classes for help with like reading and writing and stuff. I don't know if there's anything like that that's offered at your school or could be put in place. You know, but anyway, I definitely think contact the Samaritans. If you can, contact the NSPCC because they deal with schools and stuff. If there is, yeah, try and get someone to be there with you all the time in all your classes and everything as much as possible, and confide in them that this is happening to you. It's extremely brave. I know this has gone off the topic of this live stream, but it hasn't completely, because it's about being vulnerable. And vulnerability is a strength. I want you to know how precious your vulnerability is, Olivia, and don't ever, ever forget that. You just started YouTube today. Oh, bless you. You're in the right place. Yeah, it's extremely hard to share your experiences. And I just want to empower you to know how credible you are, how brave you are. You know, I started this video by saying, you know, sharing your emotions, sharing your thoughts and feelings, sharing your vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's the people that suppress and repress emotions that have the issues. They have it more and more. Do you know what I mean? That's why people do get angry and stuff, is because they're suppressing and repressing their emotions. My YouTube name is a few messages up. Oh, thank you. I can't see all the chat because it's going quite quickly, but yeah, I think I did see you post at something. I hope your YouTube channel goes well. We'll have to go through the chat later if it's still available and click through it and see what you're up to on there. Sounds great. I'm really proud of you. It's very important you've done the YouTube because it's all about sharing your voice when people are trying to silence you. This is something I learned in school myself. Like, people will try. Oh, thanks for posting it again. I'll click through that and have a look later. So I've still got it on my screen at the moment. So go to channel. So do you want me to subscribe, Olivia, to your channel? I know that you haven't got any content up yet. Do you want a subscription, or do you want me to just look at your channel and keep my eye on it for you? Because obviously I haven't got any videos up at the moment, but I've got your channel up at the moment. Let me know. So I want you to feel supported. So yeah. So anyway, I want to say to you that you're so brave, and it takes great courage, and it's important that you let your feelings and emotions out. And I'm so happy you found a safe space here. And yeah, so I really appreciate you being here, and I'm so sorry you're going through this, but know that starting a YouTube channel is amazing. You know, if you do some videos of that, it's really good, because what happens is people want to silence your voice, right? I'm going to move it back now. People want to silence your voice. That's what all this is about, silencing your voice, you being different, and they can't handle it. They're uncomfortable with it. They're trying to overpower you. They're trying to manipulate you. They're trying to control you. What you have to realize is that you are valid. You matter. You are beautiful in and of your own right. You are not harming others. They are harming you. You are being brave. And by sharing your voice on YouTube, it'll probably be a good outlet for you. So might blogging, anything that allows you to share your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The only thing I would say, if you're doing stuff online, is you can get a lot of trolls, people saying nasty stuff. So I just want to share that with you. You just posted your first video. Right, okay, let me see if I can see it. I don't know if I can see it yet. It might not come on. I can't see it yet, but it might have to go through YouTube first. And also I'm in the middle of a stream. So anyway, I will have a look later. So, but yeah, it's important that you use your voice. I'm sure someone else can go and check out Olivia's channel as well. Give her a sub if you like the content. Please reload because you just posted. I have reloaded it, but obviously I'm in the middle of a stream now, so I need to, it's still showing nothing at the moment on my side. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just show it to you, just so you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. That's what it's on. Olivia Rose, nothing. Right? It doesn't mean to say you haven't posted it. It means it's just not come up yet. But I look at the amount of tabs I've got open, because I'm literally going to be going and talking about something I need to read out. Because obviously my viewers here are waiting for me to read out what I was talking about earlier about advice I'm giving. They're waiting with bated breath for my advice about what to do when people walk away if you're vulnerable. So this was a guide for you. So I'm gonna dive into what I need to talk about on this channel to help others as well. But I'm proud of you for posting your first video. I'll try and see it later if it can. Sometimes with YouTube, they have to check the videos. Oh, it does say one video there, but I can't see it. So I'm wondering if you put it on private or something like that. I can't see it at the moment. Just make sure it's public, because obviously I won't be able to see it. But it does say one video. I just can't see it. But I'm not gonna go and do that now, because obviously the other viewers, they need my help as well. I hope that's okay with you. My other viewers need help as well. So I need to continue this stream to help others, because they're waiting for my advice, and it's really important that I share that with them as well to help them out. So that's what I'm going to go and do. So I'm going to carry on, because I need to read a post out that I did. Okay, so okay, here you're going. Well, have a nice bath, Olivia. I'm proud of you for being here. Keep sharing your voice with the world and keep being you. Lots of love, and check out those links I gave you to phone the Samaritans, etc. So let's go back to the question. Like, so, you know, basically, though, if we start from what I said in the beginning, if you're in a situation now where every time you're vulnerable, you feel like a girl leaves you. If I'm saying it in the respect of a guy with a girl leaving him, right? Because it was a forum that I'm in, a private forum, where the guy was posting about his situation. Now, I'm not going to go through his whole situation. This is a private forum. I respect confidentiality, but it's something that I wanted to bring up with you, because I know that a lot of guys go through this, and a lot of people go through this in general. They feel as soon as they're vulnerable, that's when a person leaves them, right? And what happens in that case is when you're most attached to that person, right? And you're like, how could they do this to me? I was being so open, I was being so honest, I was being so vulnerable, and they did that to me. That's how it makes you feel, right? And so in the beginning of this video, I was saying that anyone who goes around telling you as a guy, oh, it's weak if you're vulnerable, it really puts people off you. Don't do it. Don't be weak. Don't show your emotions. Don't do that type of thing. That's just BS, right? We don't want to be going down that route. That's unhealthy women who want a macho masculine guy, which is toxic masculinity. Well, there's a difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity, right? And masculinity is really important for many guys, but you don't want toxic masculinity, right? You want to actually be having a healthy relationship or healthy friendship, healthy connection with someone. So I'm going to be sharing now what I wrote in response to this guy's post, right? I can't read all his posts out, but basically he says he's all about authenticity, and every time he shows vulnerability to a girl, she runs away. So this is not good, but I know that it does happen, and I know that it can be really difficult. But why is this? Why is it when you're most vulnerable and you open up, a girl leaves you or someone leaves you? Why does this happen, right? Is it a phenomenon that you can never actually like open up? Does that mean you can't be vulnerable, right? So if you don't be vulnerable, you're avoidant, right? A person who's avoidant avoids intimacy, avoids vulnerability because they're afraid of getting hurt. But the problem is with avoidant people, avoidant attachment style, that often leads to people not seeing the real you in the beginning. Then when they find out the real you, they're shocked. And if it doesn't fit with what they're have in their mind for their life, if it doesn't feel right to them, they will leave. Not because what you're doing or how you are is necessarily wrong, but because it doesn't fit in with their ideology of what they want. But you've not shared that. You've waited till a lot later for people to get to know the real you. So this was my response. Right, so this is my response to why do girls keep always leaving me when I'm being vulnerable with them. Okay, so first of all, I told you that this person said they're authentic. They value authenticity, right? All about being authentic. So first of all, I said to them, I am all about, I'm going to read, this is reading out, so I'm going to be looking away from the screen, right? You can ask me questions on this, anything you've got, and I'll try and flick through them and respond, okay, accordingly. But I'm not going to be able to see everything flicking on the screen when I need to actually read the post and talk about it. So I will look at some questions later on, okay? So I'm all about being authentic. I'm all about authenticity too. I just checked your profile bio and noticed you said you are 5 and 35, and now I see you're 23. I got a bit confused about that and how that fits in with the idea of being your authentic self. So this is really important because someone who's authentic, to my mind, would not do that, right? So this is what I've said. Authenticity means, for me, literal honesty. Literal honesty. So if he was to say in his profile, oh, I act like I'm 5, but really I'm 35, but I've got a like fun young personality to me, that would be, him being literal, but saying why he said it was explain why he said that. But then he's like, so I thought maybe he's 35, but he acts like he's 5, or he likes to live a young, fun life like he's 5. That's what I thought he meant. But then when I see his actual post, because that was in his bio, when I see his post, he says he's 23. Now, for my mind, it's like, how does 5 and 35 equate to 23? And why do you say I'm 5 and 35? There's no literal honesty to that. There's nothing. It doesn't make sense to me. And to me, that's not authenticity. So you have to decide what's authentic to you, what authenticity means to you. But the fact that he said authenticity is like the thing for him, and then posted that makes me question, like, and curiously, why that's authentic to him, right? Why is that authentic? Okay, so authenticity means, for me, this is what I said, I've just started talking about this, but I'll go into more detail. Literal honesty, no ambiguity, full explanation, clarity, speaking my truth, even if others don't like it or agree with it, sharing my thoughts, feelings and emotions, even if the other person doesn't like what I am saying, because I am being true to who I am, but with empathy, care and compassion, and tackling difficult conversations, even though it's not easy for me to do that. Really isn't. But part of having a healthy friendship or relationship or connection is talking about things you don't want to talk about. And that's to be with authentically how you feel. Right? I said to this guy, and this is my advice I'll give to you if you're in this situation, I think it would be a good idea to reflect on what you mean by being authentic. What does authenticity look like to you? Because if you don't know what authenticity looks like, how can you know if someone else is being authentic or you're being authentic yourself? So you have to really understand what authenticity means, and does your interpretation of authenticity match with that of the other person's? Right. The reason I say this is because you said every time you show vulnerability to a girl, she leaves. And this strikes me as being the time you are being your true, authentic self rather than before. And then the person realizes she is not in alignment with that or doesn't want that in her life. Whereas if you were your true, authentic self from the beginning, then maybe you would find girls more in alignment with the true you and who you really are. Alignment is so important. Right, even if you are a romantic and kind guy, I'm a hyper-romantic, it doesn't mean to say that you and another person are right for each other. Words, actions, and behaviors are all important in connections. I would reflect on if those align and work together. My fringe looks really wonky today, doesn't it? Never mind, get on with this. I would encourage you to think about life goals, things you do enjoy doing, hobbies and interests, and the type of relationship you are looking for long term, and with life goals. How much time, care, affection, romance do you ideally need, and try to find someone who feels the same or similar to you and can give those to you, and vice versa, in a way that feels good for both of you. It seems she knew, the person he's talking about, something wasn't right for her. When you told her the truth about you and your secrets and life, but she didn't know those things or not know them fully before. And that was a life she knew she didn't want. That doesn't make what you want wrong. It just means you weren't compatible. Maybe share more of yourself up front so people can see the real you earlier on. The more vulnerable you are, the more attached you can be to someone and then need them more. That is not an easy thing to do or balance, but I think being more upfront and open about who you are from the beginning might help you attract those more aligned, in alignment, and expand your comfort zone of vulnerability. Yes, I want to pause that. Expand your comfort zone of vulnerability. The only way we become more animated in life, if you like, the more alive, is if we practice vulnerability and we get out of our comfort zone of vulnerability and being our authentic self, right? This takes a lot of practice. Okay. So you need to expand your comfort zone of vulnerability of who you truly are. Being I am vulnerable even on my social media, it means I am more self-sufficient in accepting my own vulnerabilities. And that's a strength, as it means I'm less reliant on others emotionally in my vulnerability. Know that being vulnerable is a good thing. Mean people can get... Oh, what did I put? Know that being vulnerable is a good thing. Means... Oh, I put mean people. I meant means people can get to know the real you right from the start and see if that's for them or not. I wanted to share with you, this is me being very vulnerable now. I wanted to share with you, I recently met a guy at the hospital. Actually wrote a post about that part. At the hospital, he was kind, caring, and thoughtful, and I felt safe. This is a private forum, by the way. I don't, but it's me reading my own reply out to this guy, right? We continued to converse for the following 2 weeks with text calls and even an in-person dinner. His words were always kind to me, empowering and supportive. However, he did open up to me and get more vulnerable with me and share secrets with me. And the things he shared were more things that did not align with my principles, morals, values, and beliefs, and they made me feel unsafe and did not sit well with me at all. I gave him an opportunity to see if there was any way I could carry on the friendship with him after explaining how I feel, and said I was not feeling good about the connection anymore, and it was causing me stress and anxiety, and how could we navigate this together? But unfortunately, he was angry with me and deflected of what I said back onto me, lacked accountability, and did not show concern for me not feeling safe anymore in the connection, and was making out I was wrong. So you could say that after he had been more vulnerable with me, I saw the real him. Not just the nice things he said to me, but the things that I consider to be unhealthy and dangerous behaviors he had. Some other people might not care he was doing this and may not share those same behaviors, or they don't bother them. Others may even like them and find them fun and exciting. Therefore, they are more in alignment with him, and those things don't make them feel uneasy and unsafe like they did me, which was a situation I had to leave sooner rather than later for my own good, even though I cared about him deeply and have been crying about this, especially because of how kind he was to me at the hospital. But it would seem that many don't know the full, authentic, real him and these behaviors in the fullest sense. He hides this from the world and a lot of people. More authenticity, openness, and honesty would help. But then it's up to the other person if they feel that's something they can get on board with or not. Some people may feel attacked and criticized when these behaviors are pointed out, whereas others would be grateful for the knowledge and the opportunity to reflect, learn, and grow from them. So just because you are vulnerable, open, and honest with someone later doesn't mean to say they have to like what you said or agree with it. If it's not right for them, they need to leave. The sooner you be vulnerable and your true authentic self, the sooner people can decide if you are right for them or not. If you are leaving this until later, that's harder because then you are more attached. That said, also practice having difficult conversations with girls and providing a safe space for them to share their true feelings about any concerns they may have about the connection with you, and be willing to try to work through those together. It sounds like she had an uneasy feeling about something you shared, but she might not consciously know exactly what, or she might not feel safe to share, and is worried about your reaction and how she will be perceived, and her intuition for herself knows something is off, because she said she didn't know why, but she has to leave him, just go. Whereas obviously I prefer to give feedback to a guy rather than just leave his life if I can, to see if he can put any difficulties right. Do you know what I mean? Or if we can be in alignment at all, get through it together. So anyway, it might be a succession of things about how this is what I'm saying to this guy, because he was like, I don't understand. This girl just says she's leaving my life and she's got to go. So this is my full response to him. I'm saying that it might be, it sounds like she had an uneasy feeling about something that you, meaning him, shared, but she might not consciously know exactly what, or she might not feel safe to share and is worried about your reaction and how she will be perceived, and her intuition for herself knows something is off. So intuition should never, ever be overlooked, by the way. It might be a succession of things about how you live your life, behaviors and habits that are not in alignment with her own. If you are happy with those things about yourself, then you don't need to change them. This is really important. But if they are causing you problems in relationships and potential relationships, you should consider working on those and addressing them for self-improvement and to foster better, more healthier connections in the future. Sometimes it's best to be around people who bring things to your attention about yourself that may be holding you back, Other times it's about self-reflection. I hope this helped you a lot. So I just want to explain that even with this situation that happened recently with me, if that, like, although I didn't like that person's habits and behaviors in some ways, obviously I love him being kind, caring, supportive, so amazing at the hospital. I can't thank him enough for being there for me. He's there for me on phone calls, lovely in messages. Those are, because this guy says he's kind. This guy in this forum said he was kind and he's romantic, right? But just because someone's kind doesn't mean to say he's suitable to be connected to someone. This guy, you know, he couldn't understand why the girl was leaving him and other girls leave him when he gets vulnerable. But my whole point of the post is that probably he wasn't being his true, authentic self in the beginning. And when this person found stuff out about him, as he was vulnerable and revealed more and more, she realized that that is not for her. That doesn't make him a bad person. It just means that they're not compatible. And so I'm trying to help him to say, think about authenticity, because he said he's authentic. But then obviously, what does authenticity mean? Like, what does it mean to the other person? But if you're vulnerable with someone and they don't like what you're being vulnerable about, then you're just not compatible. You need to find people and be around people who love the things about you that you're sharing in those vulnerabilities. Or if they are unhealthy habits, behaviors and so on, and you agree they're unhealthy, you know they are, then you need to do something about it, right? And improve yourself, right? But you have to decide, like, just be like the guy that I met recently. He's like, I love his work ethic. He's got a beautiful work ethic. You know what I mean? Really well organized and great time management and everything like that with his work. But obviously in other aspects, he's very disciplined in his work, but in other aspects of his life, he's different, right? And just because I don't like some of the behaviors and habits he has, doesn't mean to say other people won't like that about him. So he should be around people and connected to people that make him feel good about his habits and behaviors. I have to say, though, that I have learned in my life to not be an enabler, not enable bad behavior. Some of the stuff that's happened is dangerous, not just to potentially me, but to himself, you know? I'm not going to share what those are. I'm not going to go into it. But what I'm saying is I care about him. And in the past, I would have enabled a connection with, you know, like, for example, I have exes in my past that were doing things that I didn't like or have done things that I don't like. And I stayed in a relationship in the name of love with them. But I learned from my past is not to continue a connection with someone when I don't feel what they're doing is good. I don't like it. I don't like being around it. Instead of enabling that behavior and continuing. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you meet the wrong person, but you stay in that situation rather than leave it, that's your fault, if you know what I mean. It's not your fault what they do. You're not responsible for their behaviors. You're responsible for your own. But if you stay in a situation that's unhealthy for you, you're enabling that to continue. Do you know what I mean? And so sometimes you just have two different people, got completely different personalities, like completely different things, and they're just not compatible. It doesn't mean to say either person's wrong. It doesn't mean to say that, right? But at the same time, if you believe a behavior is bad, you don't want to be an enabler and carry on just allowing that and thinking them to think that's fine. So you have to speak up, and that's about being vulnerable. I was vulnerable by saying about, I'm not sure I can continue the friendship because, you know, because I wasn't feeling safe. And can you help us navigate together what would happen in that situation, like certain situations? I'm not going to give away his private business. I can't do that. All I can do is share how I feel, right? And be very careful about what I say. But I thought I'd share this post that I wrote back to a guy in the forum, because now I know that it's difficult because, for example, the person that I was friends with recently, he was very vulnerable with me. And he might be sat at home now thinking, oh, I was vulnerable with her, but she left my life because I was vulnerable and I revealed myself to her. And that's really horrible. How could she do that? Not thinking about me and my safety and how I was feeling, but from his point of view, that might be how he was feeling, right? he might be feeling, I shared, I was vulnerable. I wish I'd never been that way with her now, because now I feel like upset and in pain. And how could she do that to me? How could she be so horrible, right? But I wasn't being horrible. I was just saying how I feel, because there was new things that I didn't know about him. And even though he was honest with me and vulnerable and told me the truth, I can't accept things that go beyond my tolerance level for the standards I have for my own life. And he says something about, oh, you're just using the negativity of the past and putting it on me. That's not the case at all. I recognise patterns from my past of behaviours that weren't good for me, that I continued and tolerated in the name of love and keeping a connection alive, rather than doing what's best for me and realising this is an unhealthy situation for me to be in, because I don't like what my ex was doing, and leave sooner rather than later. And that's what I did now. That's actually personal growth with me. Personal growth to realise, damn, I really like this guy in lots of ways. Damn, I feel really connected to him. I feel such an emotional connection with him. I feel he's been really amazing at the hospital, took really good care of me. I felt so safe with him there. You know, he really looked after me, got me a bottle of water, got me through a blood test that I just feel I couldn't have even done without him. I feel like I owe him my life in that way, but I have to stop myself. I'm like, you don't owe this guy your life, Sandra. He was there for you in a time of vulnerability, but you were there for him. He had an injury. You phoned him up and you've talked to him about that, because obviously he was at the hospital. You know, I was thought something was wrong with my heart, but it you know, luckily wasn't. It was a pulled muscle, and he was there because he'd injured himself at the gym, I think, something like that. I think that's how he did it. But anyway, he got an injury. And so anyway, do you know what I mean? Like, I phoned him up as well to do with that and stuff like that. So it wasn't, you know, was both of us. But to actually say, oh, it's putting negative in the past, it's not about negativity of the past. It's about the fact I've been around guys, for example, who are unhealthy for me because of the behaviours they had, the things they liked to do, the habits they had. And I stayed in those relationship connections for years because I loved that person, because I wanted to be there for them, because, you know what I mean? And that's not what I should be doing. I should be saying, okay, this isn't for me. This may be for someone else. This could be for loads of other guys and girls, people who are fine about that. People who think it's a laugh, a joke, excitement, thrill, whatever. That's fine. But I'm not that person. It's not who I am. I only have a certain tolerance level for differences, right? And after that, if I'm close to a person, because I was really close to this person for the short time I knew them, it's like it's above my tolerance level. It feels like I'm betraying myself by being in connection with someone who's got behaviours and things that I just fundamentally against my values, morals, belief and ethics. It's just a mismatch. Do you know what I mean? So it means that he needs to find people who like that about him, who love those stuff, will find it great, unless he decides that, oh, actually it is unhealthy. Because who you hang around with will enable that usually. An enabler is actually a bad thing. So if you're an enabler, you enable people to participate in their bad behaviours by supporting them in their bad behaviours. By agreeing with their bad behaviours, by keeping them in the mindset that their bad behaviours or their bad habits or whatever, they're fine. And you're saying that to keep the peace. You're being a peacekeeper and an enabler. You know, I can't do that. I mustn't do that anymore. It's actually unhealthy for me to do that. It's bad of me. It's not good for me if I enable that. You know, and actually, you know, I know that some of these things can harm him. And if I care about him, why would I want that? You know what I mean? That's kind of not caring. That's kind of turning a blind eye. And I don't think that's good. But I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm saying we're not compatible. But I'm sure he can find lots of people in his life that just think, oh, that's wonderful if they do. But I can't be an enabler, and I can't, if I don't feel safe in a situation, I will remove myself from it because I love myself and I care about myself. You know, and it's not about, oh, he's a horrible person. It's about, like, I gave him an opportunity to say, how can we work through this together? Like, if this was to happen, what can I do? You know, and there was nothing that came back about that. Which is fair enough. They got nothing for me. They got nothing for me, right? But I have to leave that situation because it's not good for me, right? So for example, like there's loads of people with different personality types and stuff, and different people who like different things. Do you know what I mean? Like if I got, I'm not this. I was only in a friendship with that guy, but say I don't know how to give you an example of like. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to give you an example. But basically, if someone, so for example, I've already talked to you about smoking on this channel, right? I can't be with a smoker, right? Some people can be with people who smoke because they smoke themselves or it doesn't bother them. But I can't be with a smoker in a relationship, right? Because the smoke affects my chest. I hate it. I'm very anti-smoking, actually. I absolutely hate the thing. I think it's poison and toxic for the body. I think all smoking, drugs is like toxic, for example, is toxic for the body. I think it's poisonous. Your liver has to work overtime to get rid of it, right? And, you know, and I personally don't drink alcohol as well, right? But obviously the majority of the world drink alcohol. A lot of people smoke. So don't go up to every person in the street going, you can't drink alcohol, you can't smoke, or you can't drink or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But because I don't have those people in my life, I'm not close to them, it doesn't really affect, well, it does affect me if someone's going by smoking cigarette or vape or whatever near me. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's literally killing my lungs. It's getting in my lungs. I hate it. It's like, why should I have to walk around the street and have this in my, you know, like, why should I have to like have this in my life? You know what I mean? When I don't need to. And it really annoys me incessantly, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like in the UK, for example, it seems like cannabis is now like normal or something for a lot of people. Like even where I live now, like some people seem to do cannabis in one of the flats, at least one of the flats. Because I come past it sometimes, I can smell it out the window while I'm walking past it. It's like I really don't need that infecting my lungs. It's just toxic and disgusting for my lungs. Do you know what I mean? Some people are like, yeah, let's mellow out to it. Do you know what I mean? Some people love that, right? So if a person loves that, they should find someone else that likes it, and they can do it together with them, right? But that's actually harming other people's bodies by passively shoving it out the window. You know, it's just not good. Do you know what I mean? And cannabis does actually have effect on the body. I know my ex, like I was in a situation where my ex used to do that, more than one ex actually. They didn't do it around me, but they were still spaced out. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't like that type of thing. I don't personally like drinking, but maybe I could be with someone who drank, you know, a little bit. But I personally don't like it if I kiss a person and they've been drinking alcohol. I personally prefer to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't drink alcohol. That doesn't matter if I'm just their friend, because I'm not going to kiss them. So, but I wouldn't like someone who's like paralytic around me, because it's like they're just off their head. I don't need that in my life. But do you know what I mean? I can take better care of myself on my own by not being around that. But these are just like examples of things, you know, that don't align with me. But there's people who go and have drinking sessions every weekend, and they get absolutely sozzled, and they think it's a wonderful life, right? They probably get on well with alcoholics, you know. But you know what I mean. So you know what I'm saying. But they wouldn't class themselves as alcoholics, obviously. But probably not. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't find pleasure in that, right? But people need to get into connections with people that are like-minded, because otherwise, if you have people that clash and don't like things, right, it's one thing. You have to be respectful, obviously, but if you lose respect for someone because you just think, oh, you're just doing too many things that I just think are so bad, then you're going to lose respect, and then it's better not to be in that connection, because it doesn't make either of you feel good. You feel bad because it's like, I'm losing respect for the person, or I'm losing the good impression I had of them, or I just don't feel good around this, or knowing someone that does this. You know what I mean? And therefore, you know, you both need to separate, because I need to be around people that have similar values, morals, and beliefs to me. They're not going to have all the same. They're definitely not going to have the same. Me and my best friend are very different on one major value, one major thing, which I'm not going to reveal. But we are very different on one major thing, and I've had to come to terms with that. But because they're a bit flexible in it, then that's what allowed me to still be fine about it. But it was a very, very like, oh my God, this is a completely different value. But that's the only major value that's very different to both of us. It's quite big, but it's a major, you know, it's a major thing. But other than that, the majority of the other things were similar or the same on. So, you know, you've got to weigh up, like, no one's perfect. You're never going to get someone who's like, and you wouldn't want a carbon copy of you, right? But you need someone who's got the same morals, values, principles, beliefs, ethics in general, at least enough of them to make it healthy and to feel safe and good for both of you. So, you know, you need to be around people who support who you are and what you do, right? But obviously, if you have got bad habits, bad traits, bad things that you do, then you need to get help to change that. And if you ever want to make a change in your life, then you have to be around different people who do different things and have different morals, values, beliefs, and ethics in order to change yourself and develop and grow yourself into becoming a different version of you, a better version of you. Because if you stay talking to the same people, hanging around the same people and everything, and that they're not helping you to grow yourself and become a better person, then you have to ask yourself, like, what is this connection about? You can just be friends with someone without thinking, you know, about growing with them or anything like that. But if you got to a stage in your life where you need to change yourself, maybe been through some huge heartache and pain, right? And you need to change yourself, then you have to ask yourself, what people do I need to be around to enable me to change? And the only way you're going to do that is by being around different people who've got a different mindset, a different approach to life, doing different things, so that you can learn from them. You're not going to learn from people who enable the same behavior as you've always had, who support you in the same behavior you've always had, if you want to change that behavior or thing in your life. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, for example, I've got fibromyalgia, right? And there's groups on fibromyalgia, groups to do with fibromyalgia, I should say, on Facebook. Fibromyalgia is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscle of the body, in case you didn't know. I was officially diagnosed with it in 2012. Symptoms came on in 2010. And so I am actually technically in Facebook groups about fibromyalgia, but I hardly ever go in there. Why do I hardly ever go in there? It's because these people are in chronic pain and they talk about stuff with a very negative mindset because it affects them deeply. I understand where they're coming from. But if I carried on being in those groups, my mind would be badly affected. And instead of being able to control my fibromyalgia and manage it very well, I would constantly be thinking about pain. I'd constantly be thinking about problems to do with numbness, to do with body hurting, to do with can't feel my body, to do with all the stuff that they describe. And I might start taking that into my mind and noticing things about my pain that's similar to theirs and it's worse than I thought, for example, because I'm around the negativity about fibromyalgia, which most people would see it as a negative thing. It actually saved me from depression years ago, so I don't see it as negative like most people do, right? But what I do is I usually block out the pain using the power of my mind for fibromyalgia, right? If I get any other conditions on top of it, then it's a lot more difficult to block them out. But my point is if I carried on being in those groups, while they're sympathetic and empathetic and kind and caring in the sense that they support other people with fibromyalgia, they understand my pain, they understand where I'm coming from. If I was in them all the time, my mental health and probably physical health would decline because I would be thinking more about my pain, whereas I don't bring my pain to conscious thought a lot of the time. When I do, it hurts much more, like 10 plus more. You know what I mean? It hurts a lot. It really hurts and it's a nightmare. It's horrible. And you start thinking all negative stuff like, what the hell? I've got to be like this for the rest of my life. It's so difficult, right? Because I'm thinking about it. So if I want to get out the mindset and habit of thinking about it, I have to do something different and be around different people who haven't got the condition. People who are living their life going, oh, this is a wonderful life despite adversity. People who are living their life going, all right, I've had some shit happen, excuse my language, but, you know, I am literally, you know, like, still resilient. I'm still strong in spite of that. I'm still here sticking up for myself. I'm still here loving some aspects of life, even if not all aspects of life are good. I'm still here, you know, I'm still here thriving in some ways. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important that I spend time with those other people that bring me up, that make me feel motivated and inspired and good. Obviously, they don't understand my pain. So if I'm really, really down about my pain, then I might want to go to a fibro group. In actual fact, I wouldn't usually go there. I'd usually go to my best friend or someone like that. Someone who hasn't got fibromyalgia, but understands in an empathetic way about the difficulties of it. So they can be empathetic and understanding whilst not piling all the other problems that fibromyalgia gives you on my lap, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? So I'm just giving you this as an example, because who we surround ourselves with is very important. So if we got people in our social circle or our friend circle that are doing things that are not healthy or good, we have to eventually say, should we stay around those people or should we leave? Like, distance ourselves or cut the connection, because they're not healthy for us to be around. And when you have a self-growth mindset, you have to do difficult things sometimes, which means cutting connections and ties with people you might care about and love dearly, or reducing your time with them because it's unhealthy for you, and it will enable you to think in bad ways or difficult ways or have stress and anxiety and distress. I'm not talking about things that are beyond your control, right? We touched on, we talked about bullying earlier on with Olivia in this. Olivia says they agree, right? So I'm not saying that's horrible. I'm not saying you should put up with that. I'm not saying that at all. I just want to make that clear. But I just want to say that if you're around people who are negative all the time, who are literally enabling the behavior that maybe isn't good for you, it isn't healthy for you, and they're not actually giving you another way of being, that's not going to grow you. That's not going to help you. I've had to I had a friend, right, who is someone who I'd known for years in the asexual community. They actually decided they weren't asexual after all. Right, this person I'd met at my asexual meetups. I knew them online for a very long time, right? And I don't have any ill feeling towards them per se, right? I've never had any I've never felt like they were a bad person or anything. However, there were certain situations where they were meant to do a video call with me. They never turned up. They didn't even care, really. I had to ask them and say, why didn't you turn up? Oh, I was busy. I had I was doing this. I was with my parents. I was doing this. Right? So they weren't even sorry. It's like they were oblivious to the fact they didn't show up. It's like they didn't care to not showing up. I ended up messaging them. They never would message me first. And in the end, I had to leave the friendship. And I told them, I said, look, I just don't think I can be, well, I actually said to them, I don't think it's good for me to be friends anymore, because I want to be friends with someone and people that equally put time, energy and effort into messaging me. They do that first, because it just doesn't feel good. And they said to me, that's fair. They said, I know I've had friends too where I'm doing all the work and I'm the one messaging them first, and that hasn't felt good for me. So they were understanding and passionate about my point of view. They weren't prepared to change themselves. They weren't prepared to message me more. We'd already gone down that route anyway. I think it'd been at least a year of them me messaging them all the time first, and when them not turning up to video calls and them making excuses and stuff like this, right? Or just not caring anyway and saying, well, I wasn't available. I was doing this, that and the other. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't have to ask them. They should have been like, sorry, I'm not there, and make sure they are on time. But this is not good for me, because it's basically saying I'm accepting bad standards. I'm accepting low standards from that person. And the more you accept low standards from that person, the more they continue. They're like, well, it doesn't matter. She accepted the fact I didn't turn up to a video call. I can just say it again and do it again. And she messages me. I don't need to bother, right? So eventually that was quite difficult, because I've been friends with this person, I think, well, for a number of years. And I only parted friendship with them in 2023, I think it was. I think it was 2023. I think it was. Also, they became friends with, they got back in touch with someone who was not good to me. There's a person who was not good to me, and I could not be associated with that anymore. I could not be friends with them so I had a person who was not good to me. They deceived me badly. And everyone's their own person. This person can talk to who the hell they want. It's their life, not mine, right? But I said to them what they'd done, how badly they treated me. And I also said that this person had probably deceived them as well, because we were in a social circle together a few times. And I said, that they were deceiving in the time we were together. So probably deceiving them as well. Right? And they're like, oh, well, I won't speak to them. And then they're like, oh, I'm speaking to them again now, which is fine. They probably get on amazingly well. So I said, I just can't have that. I can't have someone in my life who's meant to be my friend, but yet is friends with the person who's deceived me so badly and hurt me so badly. I just can't do that. So I had to leave that friendship for all the reasons I've just stated. For the fact that, so my tolerance level, you see, you get to a certain point where your tolerance level is just, you can't go beyond the tolerance level. right? So I tolerated the fact, which I shouldn't have to, I tolerated the fact that I was the one usually reaching out first. I tolerated the fact for a long time about the fact that we weren't doing loads of video calls. It was every now and again, every few, whatever. I tolerated the fact that they were either not showing up to video calls, making excuses, being oblivious, anything like that, right? I tolerate that. Then the third thing of when they were like friends again with someone who deeply hurt me, who betrayed and deceived me, basically, and for over 5 years. And it was one of the most traumatic things ever, having a friendship betrayal like that, where you know, I don't know what was real with them and not anymore. I don't even let myself go there. I'm like, I have closure. My closure is I don't know the real them. I clearly never did, right? So I don't go round with the record. I'm like, that's my closure, right? But my point is, my tolerance, when I found that they're friends with them as well, that was it. I could not do it. And I did think, well, it doesn't matter if they're friends with the other person, because it doesn't really affect you, does it, if they talk to them? But it did. I felt affected. I'm like, how can you do that? It's like betraying me, that they're going to someone who's deceived me for years. And it's like they're saying, it's okay, you've deceived my friend Sandra, but I'm still going to be friends with you anyway. I can't tolerate that. So that was it, you know, and I left their life. And that wasn't easy, because I've been friends with them for a lot of years, right? And I did get on really well with them. They were nice to me in person the majority of the time. I was going to say the majority of time, because once we were on a roller coaster and they were like, oh, we're going to die or something. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's the worst thing you're going to say for someone to say that. So I won't say 100% they were good to me all the time. But other people might find that funny, you see. But again, it's a bit of an incompatibility issue. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to be told that while I'm going up a roller coaster with you. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, you could argue it's a bit funny. I mean, it's not the end of the world, them saying that, but it's just really inappropriate. You know what I mean? So they get to a stage where you tolerate so much and then you just can't tolerate anything anymore. So Jonathan says, I love roller coasters. I'm so glad you love roller coasters, Jonathan. So I'm going into these examples to try and explain my situation, and that it doesn't mean to say that person's a bad person at all. It just means to say, I'm not saying they're not a bad person, but I don't think they're a bad person. But I think it's bad, their behaviour, that what they were doing. So sometimes it's not the person that's bad, it's the behaviours that are bad, in my opinion, and need to change. Or you can't change another person. So if the person's going to stay the way they are and they're happy with the way they are, then you need to leave their life. And this is what I was saying about this post that I wrote to this guy in the private forum. The post I was writing, the whole point of my post is that I didn't think he's being his true, authentic self anyway. That I felt that when he's vulnerable, this is, I mean, he only wrote a short paragraph, so this is just some help. Like, you know, my point is if you're leave being vulnerable till later, the person never gets to know the real you till later. And then when they got to know the real you, they might not like everything of all the things about that you haven't shared. And it's still their right to leave your life if they're not happy with it. If I'm vulnerable and someone leaves me, it's not nice, is it? It does feel horrible. But at the end of the day, they're not my person. They're not the right person for me. The right person will stay in my life because they will be okay with my vulnerabilities. They'll be okay with the things I'm sharing because it will sit well enough in their life to be fine and to be like, okay, this is comfortable enough for me to be around, you know? But, you know, not everything someone shares is going to be comfortable to hear, right? I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is even if you're vulnerable with someone and tell someone your thoughts, feelings, and share your secrets, doesn't mean to say they have to agree with them or accept them or stay in your life because of them. They still have their choice. They've still got their autonomy. It's their choice where they stay. It's their choice where they support. It's their choice where they're there or not with you. You can't say that, oh, I'm going to be vulnerable and every person I'm vulnerable with has no right to leave me. They have no right to go from my life when I'm vulnerable. No right whatsoever. How dare they? You can't say that. Because if you're vulnerable with someone and they leave, it hurts like hell. And it might be nothing to do with you. It might be to do with their own stuff. That they just can't handle that situation for whatever reason. But it doesn't matter, does it? At the end of the day, it just means it's an incompatibility. And if you haven't known the person that long, it's better to find out these things earlier than later. It's better to have a person being honest with you in life and saying, look, this doesn't work for me. If they give you an opportunity to put things right, unfortunately, this girl with this guy in this forum, she didn't give the guy any reason as to why she was leaving him. No reason whatsoever. I think that's worse. I think if you are able to share with someone why you feel the connection is no longer any good and unhealthy for you, I think if you're willing to be vulnerable and share that with them, then that is a beautiful thing you did for them, because they're not left wondering, well, what did I do wrong? Why is she leaving me all of a sudden? Why is she just going from my life? I don't understand. I've been so kind and so caring and so thoughtful, and she's just being like that with me, and you end up calling her all names under the sun, which I won't repeat. But some probably begin with B and other stuff and horrible names. Like, how the hell could she do that to me, right? There's got to be a reason why she left your life. Obviously people who are not honest and faithful, they might have found another partner, they might have found another connection, they might have found someone else, right? But they might be scared to share with you why they're leaving your life. If they feel that you're going to react to them badly, you're going to be upset with them, you're going to slag them off, you're going to be like, they might be scared to say, look, I'm feeling like this is not healthy anymore. Can we work through this together? Or I'm scared. Because in real healthy relationships, you're going to have to be vulnerable, and you're going to have to, whoever you're with, real relationships, not the game playing, hooking up culture. I'm talking about real, authentic relationships. You're going to have to be vulnerable and share your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And sometimes they're going to be damn hard to navigate together. Like I said, there's one thing with my best friend where we are majorly different. And that was a shock. Right? And it did make me feel, can I even continue this friendship? This was a long time. This was like 2 years ago, I think now. And it's like, oh my God, I never ever knew this about them. And I'd known them for years before that, right? But because they said to me, I'm willing to be wrong about that thing, even though it's my personal belief, I'm willing to be wrong about it. I'll listen to you and I'm willing to be wrong. Just because they were willing to be wrong doesn't mean to say they're wrong for them, but just because they were willing to be wrong and they listened to my perspective and they accepted it and they're willing to be wrong, that just made all the difference. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that. I can accept it now. I don't agree with it. And I did ask them extreme example, real life example of like, if that thing happened in this scenario, would you still do that? And they said yes. And I'm like, okay, I find that very extreme. It shocked me, but because you've said that, I accept it. So I had to accept it. And now I don't like it. I really don't like it because I don't agree with it. It's hard for me, but I accept that because they were willing to be flexible, listen to my point of view, and they were understanding of my point of view as well. And because they said what I would consider a worst case scenario, and I was shocked, but I'm like, okay, you would do that to that extent. That's how much you feel about it, right? So, what I mean? But I love my best friend as a best friend, and they're very beautiful and kind and caring towards me. They're very understanding, very loving towards me. And a lot of the time we do share a lot of the same morals, values, ethics, beliefs. For example, he hates smoking. He can't stand smoking. I hate smoking. That's one of our shared beliefs, where there's thousands of people that smoke in the world. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm just saying, he doesn't drink alcohol. He did when I first met him, I think, but he doesn't since he's been with me, and he realizes it's actually better for his body. I didn't tell him, you've got to never drink alcohol again. Oh, I'm going to hate you. Of course I didn't. I go to meetups and social situations where people are drinking alcohol all the time, And I've had friends that drink alcohol, right? I don't like alcohol, but you know what I mean? Like, I've even bought alcoholic drinks for people before. Years ago, I couldn't even do that because I'm like, I totally disagree. And I'm basically paying for toxins to go in their body. But I've kind of like, I haven't bought a drink for a while for anyone, as you know. I wonder why, because I do find that hard even. But I have done that sometimes, and I'm just like, I have to think, well, it's up to them what they put in their body. I'm out with them. If that's what they choose to have, then I'll just buy that for them, right? So I have to shift my mindset if I want to get myself to agree to that, right? It's all about mindset shifts, right? What can you tolerate? What can you not tolerate? But yeah, my best friend doesn't drink alcohol, and he's actually like, oh, I'm so much better for not drinking alcohol. He doesn't even drink caffeine. He has like decaffeinated coffee and stuff like that, right? So he's made these changes, but he's been around me a lot, and he notices I don't do this, and he said I am so much healthier for not doing these things, for not drinking alcohol, for not having caffeine. I would never go back to it because it's unhealthy, right? He doesn't like doing that for himself. However, sometimes occasionally he'll eat red meat, for example. I don't eat any red meat. He doesn't eat much of it because his actual mum's a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian, but his mum's a vegetarian. But you know what I mean? He'll eat occasionally like ham or whatever, right? So it's not like a carbon copy of me. I don't want you to think that. And he's very different to me in some ways. Like, he's introverted, I'm extroverted. He likes being out in the countryside for 10, 12-mile walks. And that's like my worst nightmare for me personally. But I like that for him. It's healthy for him. He loves it. He feels great when he does it. It's very good for his mental health. So I support him in that, because that's something tolerable for me. It's not harming me, and it's actually very good for him, which makes our friendship better, because I know he's doing something healthy for him. So he's going to be healthier when he talks to me. He's going to be in a better frame of mind when he talks to me. He's going to be calmer when he talks to me. He's going to be more centered and grounded when he talks to me, because he's doing that for himself. So that's something I encourage him to do. And I'm proud when he goes like 10 or 12 mile walks. It's not what I like to do. He sends me photographs because I like it, because he shares, and I say, oh, that's nice. He knows I don't like countryside. I'm not really into countryside. I'm not really, but I like it because he showed it me, because I care about him. Do you know what I mean? And it's healthy for him, and it's healthy for me with him to like that with him, for his sake, if you know what I mean, and for the fact of the sake of the friendship and connection, and because I'm interested in what he's interested in. I like him to share his day, even if it's a completely different day to what I do. You know what I mean? I like that about him, you know. So we have to be like, you know, and I do have to share my feelings sometimes. Sometimes I have to say very difficult things to him. I'm more of a sharer than he is, you know, and it's hard for me sometimes, because I worry. I'm like, I don't want to lose this friendship. He's really good to me. He's really kind to me. I don't want to rock the boat. Do you know what I mean? But I have to say things that are on my mind, and that isn't always easy. Have I ever said things that are not good to him? Yes. There's occasions where I've said some things and he's like told me that he doesn't like that or whatever. Like, not really to do with no, like, for example, there was one time that he found, or a couple of times he found me to be angry or something. One particular time, it was when I moved into my last home before this one, and I thought I was being frustrated. I felt frustrated, but it came across to him as angry. And so he did the right thing. He said, I'm don't like the way you're speaking to me. And he went for a walk around the block. Of course, I was like, oh my God, I've upset my best friend. What did I do? What was my attitude like? What did I say to him? And I wasn't as empathetic as I usually am to him. Right? I wasn't as empathetic. And I did say, sorry, I'm really sorry for making you feel that way. You know, I'm sorry I did that. I wasn't thinking I was angry. I was thinking I was frustrated. But even so, I'm sorry I made you feel that way, that you felt you had to go. So he still came back, but he wanted to come back when he was calm, and when I had a thought about my behaviour, and I said to him, I'm sorry if I did that. I didn't think it was being angry. I thought I felt I was being frustrated. I was frustrated, and I felt I was expressing that. But even so, I obviously didn't express it in the right way. I obviously didn't make you feel very good. I'm so sorry I did that. You know, and then I have to make a mental note of that to not do that again, right? Because I have to change my behaviour from that. It's a one-off, that type of thing. There's one other thing a long time ago, but actually I was warning them about a person that wasn't good for them, because I knew this person, and at that time they didn't know this person wasn't good. So we kind of got into a bit of an argument about it, and a bit of like, I raised my voice a bit. He wasn't happy, and so yeah, but I ended up being right about that person. They weren't good. He did say, I said, I'm sorry about that, you know, even later on. And he's like, and then he found out, he said, well, you're actually right about that. It would cause an argument, because I knew this person was not good, but he didn't know this. And so but it turned out he realised, he goes, well, you were right after all about that person. So do you know what I mean? I was because I was angry that he was not understanding that. But again, anger isn't a good, you have the right to be angry, but you've got to be careful how you express it. And I clearly raised my voice a bit, and he's like, you're raising your voice. Don't speak like that, you know? So I make mistakes as well. I'm human. And I have to say, I'm sorry, I raised my voice. Thank you for telling me that you were scared because I raised my voice that time and you didn't feel good. I'm really sorry. He said it reminded him of something that happened in his past. And I said, I'm really sorry that I triggered that in you again. It's my fault. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And I do apologise. So I have to take responsibility and ownership for that. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying this because you know, you need to take responsibility. I have to take responsibility that sometimes I F up. Do you know what I mean? I say things that I don't do it that often, I don't think. But when I do it, it probably stands out more when I do it, because I don't do it a lot. It's like, oh my God, when Sandra does something, it really... I used to be a very angry person years ago, because of a situation. I was in abusive situations myself, and that did make me very angry. years ago. But that's why I'm not around people usually that bring out the worst in me. Because society, if I think a person's unhealthy for me, I'd rather not get into that situation again. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather not, because the person was not good for me. But the way they were with me, they were very abusive at the time in multiple ways. And that made me react. I'm responsible for my behavior, I know, but they were very narcissistic. If you know what a narcissist is, they're someone who deflects responsibility and puts it back on you. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They make you think that you're in the wrong. They turn everything against you. You might have gone to them with a problem and you might have said, this is making me feel uneasy. And they'll like well, you're the problem. You're the crazy one. You're the one who's like this. It's you. And that's like gaslighting, is turning the situation around on you and deflecting from their own shortcomings and responsibilities and accountability. They want to make you accountable for the way they feel, and they want to make you accountable for their shortcomings. So instead of actually addressing the bad behavior they've got, they will literally deflect and avoid and put it on you and try and blur your reality that you were the bad one, that you were doing something wrong. This is really, really bad when a person behaves like this, right? So you need to address the situation accordingly, right? So I hope you understand these dynamics, right? But if you've got someone, I have to reiterate, if you are vulnerable with someone and you're being open and honest with them and they are not appreciating that, and maybe they do want someone who's not open and honest and vulnerable, they're not your person. Just because you're being vulnerable doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't mean to say a person should leave you, right? So they could be leaving you because you're no good for them, or they could be leaving you because they're no good for you. I want you to hear that again. They could be leaving you because you're no good for them, right? Or they could be leaving you because they're no good for you, right? So them leaving you doesn't mean to say that you're not a good person. It can just mean that they were not good for you, or you were not good for them for whatever reason, right? If you can find out the reason, it could be helpful if it's constructive for you to have some feedback. If it's feedback on certain things you can change, for example, to make yourself a better person because you want to. But if it's fundamentally like, you've got ginger hair and I really can't stand someone with ginger hair. I don't like ginger hair. I want you to dye your hair. You said you're not going to dye it. I'm leaving you because you've got ginger hair. Now, that is a pathetic reason for someone to leave you. But hey, some people find hair colour very important. And if you don't have a certain hair colour, they can't be with you. Same with height and all this lot. Right? So what's your actual height? Oh, I'm so-and-so. Oh, no, you're no good. Then off. This is shallow, superficial stuff. We're talking about, people leaving your life. And you could, the more distant you are from someone, the more you can tend to tolerate a lot of the time because you're not really connected to them as such. But then should you be tolerating that? I don't have many in-person friends, right? Because I am very careful who I be friends with in real life. And there's a lot of things I'm different to on other people. Like the drinking, like the smoking, like the caffeine, like the drugs, or whatever. I don't do any of these things. I'm not interested in these things, right? And I'm definitely not conservative. I don't talk about politics, but I'm definitely not conservative. And you know what I mean? And I like different conversations. Like when I was I was at a meetup group, 20s to 30s social group, and I used to love going to that. But then it ended up being different people there, and they were talking about how they went on nights out or holidays, and they were just drinking and paralytic and sharing their photographs of them being completely drunk on holiday. And then a lot of people love that. They're like, oh yeah, show us more. And I was just thinking, this is so boring. I am literally not interested in people that go around getting paralytic and drunk. It's just so boring for me. It's not exciting at all. You're putting toxins and poisons in your body, in my personal mind. Loads of people can totally disagree with me on that. People would say everything in moderation. I'm like, everything in moderation that's damaging your liver, fine. But you know what I mean? That's the way I feel. And actually, I've been diagnosed recently with osteopenia, right? osteopenia, three things that reduce bone density, right? Drinking, smoking, and caffeine, right? Drinking, smoking, and caffeine. If I did those three things now, I would be at much higher risk of having a fracture. I'd have worse osteopenia, or I'd be on osteoporosis probably, and I have more risk of fracturing myself, right? Because it reduces bone density, right? So it's not just a fad that I'm saying, oh, you're being goody or whatever because you don't smoke, drink, and you do this stuff. It's like, actually, thank God I don't do them now. Because so three reasons why people have lower bone density, right? So you should be looking into this type of thing for yourself, for your longevity, for your health and stuff like that. A lot of people go, you might not drink, but you do alcohol. No, you might not drink, sorry, but or you might not do drugs, but you have a caffeine and that's a drug. I'm like, I don't have caffeine, right? Don't assume these things about me. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, it's just different values, beliefs. There's thousands of people that drink in the world. There's thousands of people that have coffee every day. Coffee's promoted as a healthy thing. Yes, it's promoted as a healthy thing. But, it's not healthy for everyone, is it? And you have to do your own research and come to your own conclusion about what you find healthy and not for your own body, right? But if I, and I know some of the people I come into contact with, some of the friends I might be, have close friends and stuff. They might drink, they might have coffee, and they might have caffeine. That's up to them. I'm not saying I go around hating everyone that does that, right? Although I can't be friends with anyone who does those things, but I have a tolerance level, the amount of differences we have. Do you know what I mean? So if they drank a bit of alcohol, fair enough. If they have coffee, caffeine, doesn't really bother me. It's not really affecting my body, is it? Right? If someone's around me getting very, very drunk and starting to fall into things and be out of control around me, like, why do I need that in my life when I can just be by myself, right? If I go to nightclubs, which I haven't done for ages, of course I'm around people who drink all the time. But I am in control of myself because I'm not getting drunk. Because even when I'm there till 2 a.m. in the morning, I am completely sober. So I am in my full faculty, understanding what's going on in my surroundings, and I'm keeping myself safe by doing so. If I was out with someone who's completely paralytic and getting drunk around me, how am I safe with that person? They're not in control. They don't know what the hell they're doing a lot of the time. Or they might say two things. One is, I'm drunk, but I still know what I'm doing. The next breath is like, oh, I did this. I went and snogged this girl, or I went and had sex with this person, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was not in control. Do you know what I mean? They use alcohol as an excuse for I'm not in control, or I am totally in control without alcohol. I mean, I have a female friend who's gone to Turkey now, got married, and she could drink guys under the table. She can drink loads and loads of alcohol, and she doesn't really affect her. She doesn't really get drunk that much. She just can drink loads. Her system's used to it, right? And I was best friends with her for years, and we used to go out and she'll drink a lot and stuff. But a lot of the time, she didn't even get drunk. She used to have competitions with guys sometimes and stuff, right? That's not necessarily healthier, is it? It's not necessarily healthy. And, it did get to the point where I did think she might have a drink problem. But, and then she ended up being in a relationship at one point with an alcoholic, and that was so bad for her. The guy was very abusive and bad to her, But she used to, when a person gets in a relationship with an alcoholic, usually they make excuses. The guy's had a hard day at work, so he needed to drink. The guy's very stressed, so he needed to have a drink. The guy's got a lot of tension in his life. He needed to have a drink. He loves his drink. I love him. I want him to be happy, so he should drink. And then you find yourself enabling these behaviors, right? Enabling these bad behaviors, right? And you don't want to be doing that. You know what I mean? You don't want to be to the point where you sacrifice yourself and what you truly believe in for the sake of, basically, enabling the bad behavior, if you like. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to decide what you want to do in your life and who you want to be and who you want to hang around and who you want to be connected to. And it's a shame when you're connected to someone who might be so amazing in loads of ways, but you just fundamentally, your values and beliefs are not in alignment and they're just too much. And they outweigh the positives. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. It's really, really hard. Right? But if you're a guy who is vulnerable, whatever gender, with a woman or whatever gender, and they leave you, you just have to know they're not your person. What can you they're not your person. What I'm not ignoring people in chat. I'm just carrying on with this because obviously I need to educate everyone. So thank you for, if you're in chat. If I haven't answered your message, it's not because I don't care. It's because I need to carry on with what I'm saying so I can focus. So thank you for being here. Lots of love to you. And you know, you need to decide what's right for you. And if someone leaves your life because you are vulnerable yourself around them, then they can't truly love the real you. Therefore, let them go from your life. Just let them go amicably if you want. But obviously, if you need feedback, if you're a person like the person I was talking about in the forum who consistently has people leaving your life after being vulnerable, then that's something, it's a pattern that you need to address. Either you're not being vulnerable soon enough with the person, not showing enough of your true authentic self with the person up front, and you're hiding certain things or keeping secrets and things which might be fundamental to a connection, or you're just attracting the people that can't deal with the openness and vulnerability of the things you are sharing. Do you know what I mean? This type of thing. So just because you're being vulnerable doesn't mean to say you're a bad person. It could be just the other person can't deal with the vulnerability. If someone's got problems with their own emotions and dealing with them, they might not be able to deal with yours. I'll repeat that. If someone's got problems with their own emotions and they cannot deal with yours, that's on them. There's different attachment styles, right? Which is usually got through childhood, how you attach, right? And an avoidant attachment style will avoid intimacy a lot of the time, even though they crave it a lot, will avoid intimate conversations, will avoid emotions that feel uncomfortable. I have someone in my life who has an avoidant tendencies, I'll say. I'm not going to reveal who they are. I've got more than one person in my life that's got avoidant tendencies, actually, and I'm a anxious attachment person, so that doesn't go well, right? But this particular person has worked very much on themselves, right? So, well, at least one of the people I know has, right? The other person I think has done some work, but not probably enough on some things. But anyway, with an avoidant person, if you're sharing your emotions with them, they might not be able to deal with them. And that's not because of you, it's because they can't handle emotional conversations. It makes them uncomfortable because they're trying to avoid their emotions. So you have to be aware of the person you're talking to and you being the reciprocant. Different messages can land differently and different intentions can end up landing differently. So you might say something to one person, but they interpret as another thing. If they then want to ask you questions and are curious, that's a great thing because it means they're trying to understand you. It's when they just go, oh, I'm not interested, and go without even trying to understand you. That's the issue. If they come to you and say, like, I'm scared by that, or I feel anxious about that, or I feel find this difficult to talk about, if they're preempting this, they're thinking about you, they care about you, right? They want you to understand them. And so, you know, you have to understand that being authentic and real and true and honest and vulnerable is going to land with some people really well because they're the same type of people that you need to be around, or it's not going to land with them. And if that person can give you feedback about why they left your life, that's great feedback that you can either use and think I can improve myself, or it's wrong. Like they might think that, but that's their opinion of me. I don't hold that opinion of myself, so I'm just going to leave it and accept that that's what they believe. That's not how I view myself. So thanks for giving me the feedback, because now I know why you are no longer in my life, but I'm not interested anyway because you're not for me, because I am like that and I like being like that, right? So if you are vulnerable, and it's a pattern though, repeated pattern of people leaving you when you're vulnerable, maybe you're talking to the wrong people that can't deal with their own emotions, let alone yours, that can't deal with someone opening up, that can't deal with someone being real and being honest and being in the moment. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to think about the recipient. You don't know everything about the recipient. You don't know everything they think and everything they feel. But if someone leaves your life and goes, I don't know why, I don't know why, but I have to leave after you've been vulnerable, you have to ask yourself, like, is that the actual truth? Like, there's probably some subconscious reason they have to leave your life, or you've just shared so much that they realise that is not for me. They've got alarm bells going off internally and they're like, oh my God, that's just not for me. I'm going now, you know? And it's often the unspoken word. It's often because they don't tell you what the actual issues are. If you've got someone who's trying to work through those issues with you, work through those things they find difficult in the vulnerability with you, if you've got a person that says, look, hey, it's not you, it's me, I find it difficult to deal with my emotions, right? I don't like emotional conversations. It makes me feel really horrible. I don't like confronting emotions. That's my issue. That's not your issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're being vulnerable with me brought these emotions up for me that I don't want to deal with, because I care about you and I am connected to you and I feel your emotions. You know, I've had a situation where someone's felt my emotions, but they haven't wanted to feel those emotions because they care so much about me, because they're so connected to me, because they feel what I feel. You know, that's real empathy. That's real love and care, even if it's not a relationship, right? Because they feel my pain, right? They feel my pain. But by the same token, it's too painful for them sometimes to deal with, you know, and then I've had to address that with them. Like, what happened, you know, and say, you know, what happened, because I needed you and I was being like vulnerable. I was sharing how I felt, my emotions, and you weren't there as much as I wanted you to be, and how that made me feel, you know, and they were really good. We had a conversation about that and discovered, you know, that it's uncomfortable for them to hear certain emotions. I don't want to go into any more of that because I respect the person's privacy. You know what I mean? And I value this person a lot. So, do you know what I mean? But it's like, even with another friend, I have like difficult conversations sometimes about how their words make me feel. Do you know what I mean? And I say why, and it's hard for them to hear that. You know what I mean? It's not easy me telling them that, you know, but I've had to practice myself over the last year, especially telling people how I feel, being even more vulnerable, if you like, because I'm having difficult conversations that could mean they leave my life if they want to. So I'm quite entitled to. And it's hard, but I've had to do that because I know that's me being a healthier person. That's me forming more close friendships. That's me getting out of my comfort zone and trying to be a healthier person by not suppressing and repressing how I really feel. Do you know what I mean? That takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of vulnerability on my part. Do you know what I mean? So I think you really need to be assessing the situation and trying to find out, if you've been vulnerable with people and people keep leaving your life when you've been vulnerable, what is it that you're doing and saying that's very different from when they first meet you to when you're actually sharing that stuff? And can you bridge that gap so that they're not so surprised when you share those vulnerabilities that you're going to share that type of thing? Can you be more vulnerable up front? Can you be more authentic up front? Can you be more like, you know, like, if there's anything that you're not comfortable with, please let me know, because I care about you. Can you share? If I ever do anything that upsets you or affects you, can you share? Or let them know, like, how can I be a better friend to you? Or how can I be a better partner to you? Ask these questions, which are so uncomfortable sometimes. You know, so uncomfortable. If someone comes to you about how they're feeling and they're feeling scared of something you did, the response is not pushing them away and saying rah 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 at them. The point is, if someone's feeling scared, like I told you, like I've been a couple of times, like had some difficulties where I've said something that is angry to my best friend, for example, and I've had to say, this has only been like a couple of times in years, but still, it's important, and I've had to say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. But them having the courage and assertiveness to come and tell me how they feel is something I cherish deeply, and I have to encourage, even if I don't like them telling me, look, you're angry then, I don't like your tone with me, don't speak to me like that, right? I respect them because they did that. I was scared when they said that. I'm like, oh my God, right? And 2 times you could argue out of years is not horrendous, but it's not good, is it? I don't like being that way. I don't like hearing this stuff about myself. I'm human. I make mistakes, like everyone does, right? So I have to hear it. I have to say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I'm sorry if if the person said I raised my voice, then I'm sorry I raised my voice, you know? And I can see how that might have scared you or made you feel uncomfortable or hurt or whatever. And I, you know, will endeavour not to do that ever again. Like, I won't do that. You know, I'll try my best never to do that again, or just don't do it again, usually. Do you know what I mean? Like, there might never be a situation where I'm never angry again, but I have to watch that. I have to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. But they were able to come to me and say that. And rather than me getting defensive, I have to be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That's my fault for making you feel that way. I'm really, really sorry. And I have to change my behaviour and watch my behaviour and be accountable for that behaviour. Does that make sense? So it's really difficult. But if you've got like a pattern where you're vulnerable with someone and they keep walking away, you have to ask yourself, what is happening? Like, what is it? Are you coming across as just quite superficial in the beginning, like just having general chit chat with them, and then all of a sudden you like load tons of stuff about your life, and that's what they would be a part of if they were in a relationship with you, for example, or in a deeper connection with you, and they're just like, I don't want this, right? If they don't want something for their life, that's okay. I mean, they don't owe you an explanation, but I think it's just nice if they give you an explanation. If you're in the situation with an ex and you don't know what you've done wrong, just ask them, just say, please, can you just explain to me what I did to make you feel this connection wouldn't work? Are you able to feel safe enough to share that with me? I won't judge you for it. Well, you don't have to use the words won't judge you, or I'll hold a safe space. You can say what you like. I won't get angry. I won't react or just listen, but I might ask you questions. But when someone says don't judge me, or I'll never make a judgment, you can't not ever judge, because judgment is how you keep yourself safe. You have to judge situations, you have to judge people to a certain extent without being too judgmental in order to keep yourself safe. If you are in a situation where you have judged for yourself or estimated, whatever word you want to use, that it's not a good situation for you to be in, then you're entitled to do that for yourself. You have to like make a call, don't you? You have to decide for yourself, is this good for me? Is this helping me? Or healthy right now? Some people change, I've known couples, for example, who have even married and they've separated and then got back together. They've either got remarried or they've they were never divorced in the first place. Right? And whatever difficulties and problems they had in the relationship, they've sorted out, I'm assuming. Right? But you can't force someone to change. You can't force someone to be like you. If they love being the way they are, they should be around people that make them feel good about themselves. If you are a person who's being vulnerable, maybe you're just being vulnerable with the wrong people that are not in alignment with you, that will never support your lifestyle or support you or the way you are. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean to say they're a bad person or you're a bad person. It just means incompatible. So then how can you be more authentic and vulnerable up front and be honest, right? How can you be more of that to attract the right people? Or how can you discern the type of people you're attracting? If you're just attracting people that are avoidant all the time, that avoid emotions, avoid difficult conversation, you're being vulnerable with them, then you need to work on, how can I attract someone who's not an avoidant? Or how can I attract someone, if they are avoidant, they've worked on themselves in therapy for years, so they're less avoidant? How can I find emotionally available people? Because that might be the issue. You might be so vulnerable with someone, but the people you're talking to are not emotionally available. They can't be dealing with emotional stuff. They only want the superficial stuff, like take me out to a date, give me a nice drink, give me a bottle of wine or whatever it is they do. Take me here, there and everywhere. Yeah, and they only want that side of you. They don't want the real side of you, day-to-day slog, or what a real relationship is like, which is essential if you want a serious committed relationship. It's like, can I take care of this person when they're poorly? Can I be for them when they're really sick? Can I give them a call or a kiss or a hug when they're at the most vulnerable? Can I hear them have tough conversations with myself about myself, even if I hate it? Like, sometimes my best friend said something about me and I haven't wanted to listen. And they said some things years ago and they're like, well, maybe you can't be like that. I've had to change myself. I've had to change the way I speak to them because it wasn't working for them. This is going back years and years. It's just come up. I'm using my best friend's personality. I get on really well with my best friend. I'm so grateful for them in my life. I'm trying not to say anything too personal, right? I'm trying to say things that I've done wrong. It's making me sound really bad, I know, but I'm not a bad person, but I do make mistakes, right? And I'm trying to show you that I'm human, that I make mistakes, and not everyone is, or anyone is infallible, right? I cock up, right? But years ago there was more difficulties in communication, shall we say, and we've both developed and grown together, which is what a healthy relationship should do. You should grow individually and together. and make progress together. But yeah, I remember even now, I've completely forgot about this, about how I speak to him in conversation, right? And I remember like him having this, saying, I need this from you. And at first I was really shocked. I mean, at first my whole physiology was like, oh my God, I didn't expect that from my best friend. We probably weren't as close as we are now, you know, it's years ago, right? I didn't expect that. Oh my God. And it made me feel horrible about myself. I'll be honest. It made me feel really horrible. I'm like, oh my God, this makes me feel really horrible about myself. I feel I have to change myself. I can't change myself. I don't want to lose this connection, but I have to change. So in the end, I changed my behavior and what I did. And I think like over the years with the work he's done on himself, he kind of like, we end up meeting each other halfway, and you know, and I try even now to be mindful. I'm like, have you asked him this? Have you while I'm talking, after a while I'm like, have you asked him this, Sandra? You need to remember to keep asking this. Even now I have to stop myself and go, you have to ask this. Remember, he needs you to ask him this. You have to say certain things, because that's how he feels good about himself and in the connection. And I have to try, and if I haven't done it for a while, you know, sometimes you can feel in a friendship when one person hasn't met the needs of the other person as much as they usually do. It feels different, right? And so you have to kind of speak up and say something about that. And it's hard. You know, it's very difficult. But I'd say overall with my best friend, we've very much grown together, and you know, we've been through a lot of things together, and I really appreciate them in my life. I love them dearly as a friend so immensely. They've been so supportive. They have listened to my needs and what I need, and what I say to them, which I'm so grateful for, and I hope I've done that well enough for them, you know. So I have actually altered my behavior, even, you know, even though it wasn't good to hear some things, I have obviously altered my behavior because I want to be a better person. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to tell you that, because I want you to know that I'm not infallible. I'm not sitting here telling you stuff from experience in a place of superiority, or that I don't make mistakes and I never do anything wrong. And it doesn't mean to say my point of view is the point of view, or that I'm the best at knowing this. Like, I'm learning from Matthew Hussey in his Love Life Club, who's the best, you know, what he does in dating confidence. I have different experiences than what he's got. You know, I'm in the community, for example, in Love Life Club, and I often answer a lot of people's, you know, love life problematic questions they have, you know, problems they've got. I'm in the community answering a lot. I end up answering a lot more than I ever think I answer. And I'm like, oh, where did the time go? I think I did 12 days in a row of answering people's questions of things they were worried or concerned about in dating relationships, you know, like very recently. So, you know, I love doing that. I love helping people, but it doesn't mean to say I'm right about everything or know everything. You know, I'm open to being wrong about some things. I don't think I'm wrong about everything. You know, and I know what's right for me, but some other people might have a completely different view, because then, so yeah, I think I had a little flicker off my phone then. So what I'm trying to say is people come from different angles. You'll get different like experiences from people, and knowledge and information from someone who is an avoidant attachment style themselves, for example. You'll get someone who speaks to you differently if they're introverted compared to an extrovert. You'll get someone different who has a different mindset. You'll get a different approach. So I think it's best to like follow YouTubers and people online who you resonate with, who you can learn from, who you can grow with, and who you think overall is good enough for you. Do you know what I mean? It's very important. Now I want to see if there's any questions or anything I've got in the comments that I've overlooked. So yeah, I think right. So my mind thinks of countdown show game when I hear how does what? Oh, how does 5 and 35 make 23? Yes, Jonathan, thanks for still being here. Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's like, how does 5 and 35 make 23? I don't understand that at all myself. So when I was talking about a guy in a forum put about like he's 5 and 35, and then he's like, I'm all about being authentic, I'm 23. I'm like, to me that doesn't feel like authenticity personally, because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like they're 3 different ages, and you haven't explained the association with any of them. So, but you know, that's just what I personally think. So, you know what I mean? Thanks Olivia for being here. So, I think it's really important that, we're sending some love. So yeah, it's really, I love this content creator. Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate you loving me as a content creator. That's really good. So yeah, Jonathan was summarizing for Olivia. Sandra's also sharing her personal story about someone she had to leave who she really cared about based on a conflict in core principles, values, and beliefs. Yes, unfortunately I did. So, apparently Olivia said, sorry, Sandra, I accidentally called you Sharon in my YouTube short. Oh, she's done a short video for me. That's so sweet. So, I'm just going through any comments now. Jonathan, this is an amazing quality to be able to continue thriving despite the awful path. Yes. It is important, to be able to continue thriving despite the awful path. It's difficult for me because actually at the moment, behind the scenes, which you're not seeing because I'm focused on helping you, I have been quite emotional recently. I've been quite upset, and I've had some CPTSD symptoms, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms that have been reinstigated again. With all the things going on behind the scenes, I've got some stuff that's going on to do with home and finances that I can't really talk about online. Plus, I had to let the connection go, which was really difficult, but for my own safety and peace of mind, and for like not being so stressed and anxious about that as well as everything else, and wishing them basically the best in the world. And I do hope they are happy in their life. It's difficult because we were both there for each other, and I know they own through some difficult stuff, just like I am. So, it's a shame we can't still be there for each other. But I think it's best for them and me to not be connected to each other anymore. I love the connection that I originally had with them, so that was amazing. But yeah, so yeah, I've been having quite a lot of upset behind the scenes, and my friends have been there for me, with me having meals and stuff. Been really supportive. I can't tell them how much I appreciate them. Do you know what I mean? It helps if you've got friends around you who can support you, and who can see you at your most vulnerable and still love and care about you. I have to say, when I was at the hospital, that guy I was connected to, he saw me at my most vulnerable, my most like messy in terms of probably my hair and stuff, and me like looking being my looking at my worst in terms of like, I hadn't washed my hair, although my hair still looked gorgeous at the time. And, like I wasn't at my best because I was poorly when I went to hospital. I had chest pain, and he was there for me, and so he saw me at my worst and accepted that and was more than accepting. He was like really encouraging and supportive. And I love that about him. I will never forget that. I will never forget that he treated me so well at the hospital. He got me a bottle of water. He was chatting to me. We were really, I thought, good friends then. And, with me up my blood. I'll never ever forget that. I really appreciate him for that, and that's why it's been sad to let the connection go. But I know it's the right thing for me to do, for me and seemingly for him as well, because he needs to be feeling good about what he likes to do, and I need to be feeling good about being safe and being with myself. I have to say that I've grown a lot over the last year, being in the Love Live Club, for example, because I feel, and doing a dating and relationship detox, like online dating and relationship detox. Like, sounds weird, like not being active on dating apps and dating sites anymore. So it's basically a dating detox. So I shouldn't really say dating and relationship detox, but I find it detoxifying from relationship, because I was with that guy years ago, the Indian guy last year, that didn't work out. So it's kind of like detoxifying myself from all that stuff, all the heartbreak and pain. And by making myself not go actively back on dating sites and on dating apps again, seeking someone, I find that I'm able to be on my own a lot more now, and be a lot more calm being on my own, and be more happy and content, like spending time with myself and doing my own thing. And I find that refreshing. I'm really proud of myself for how far I've come. I mean, it wasn't easy to leave that connection. It's the type of connection years ago that I wouldn't have left. I would have carried on even though it wasn't good for me personally. I'm not saying he's not good for someone else. Someone else who loves all that stuff, who's fine with it, will be absolutely good for him, And I hope he finds those people or person if he wants to keep all those things that he does, and be around people who support him, you know, doing that. I hope he finds that, if that's what he thinks is good for him and what he needs, you know. So yeah, I wish him lots of love in that respect, you know, but it's just not what I can tolerate or be around, you know. And but I was so grateful for the time that I spent with him at the hospital, and him being there for me, you know. So yeah, so don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to be your true authentic self sooner rather than later. Don't be afraid to be who you truly are. If someone doesn't like that, they're not the right person for you. They're not the right fit for you. If you see a pattern of something cropping up, you do have to ask yourself, why is this still happening for me? What do I need to do about it? So, you know, why do I keep attracting these type of people that don't want to be, you know, either don't want to be vulnerable with me, or they don't want me to be vulnerable with them, you know? Like, you know, is it an avoidant person, or is it something you're doing that's pushing the other person away, or just something that doesn't sit well with them, that's not right for them, you know? You just find these things out. And if you can ask them for feedback and get feedback and clarity on why, you know, they leave you when you're vulnerable, if they're open to giving you that, that would be useful information, regardless of whether it's a good thing or bad thing. It'd be useful information for you to understand, you know. But don't forget, it's not all about you, it's about them. If they don't actually agree with something, then they don't agree with it. If you're being vulnerable with them means they're uncomfortable with that, let them be uncomfortable. Let them go from your life. They're not your person. They're not your person. They're not suitable for you. They're not right for you. Go and be around people who you can be vulnerable with, and who appreciate that about you, and who can accept you for who you are and love you for who you are. That's what you have to do, right? And work on anything that you think may be an issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have an anxious attachment style, so I've had to work on that over the years. I was avoiding difficult conversations. I still find it hard even now to have difficult conversations, but in the last year, I've got much better at doing that. And that is hard. It's really hard. I don't like doing that, but I have to do it. It's essential for my growth and to have a healthy relationship with another person, or connection, or friendship. If I don't do that, I'm doing them a disfavor and myself. So I have to say that to myself. You know, sometimes pulling back is a good thing, not to be manipulative. But if you've like stated your needs a lot and the person's not listening, then sometimes you have to like pull back, you know? You have to pull back from the situation. You have to pull back, and you have to just like say, okay, this person's not for me. You know, this person's just not for me. And yeah, they're not for me, and that's fine. So it's good, you know, that you can decide for yourself who you want in your life, who you want to show up for, and who you want to be there for. And do you want to be there for people who don't accept your vulnerability, or do you want to be there for people who do? And what's the difference, the gap between yourself and your vulnerable self? And work on bridging the gap between those two things, so someone's not shocked when you tell them this is what you're really like, you know? You know, if you're stunning them with this is what I'm really like, you know, it'd be like, oh, that's not what I thought you were in the beginning. That's an issue. That's a difficulty. That's a problem that you need to sort out, right? Work on yourself, people. Become a better person and be honest. Are you actually honest? Are you actually authentic like you think you are? Are you paying attention to details? Think about all these things, right? Are you who you think you are? Or have you self-reflected and decided, actually, I'm not who I think I am? I've got work to do on myself. We've all got work to do on ourselves. Anyway, lots of love. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you're watching this on a recording afterwards, thank you so much for staying till the end and watching all this. I know it's been quite a whirlwind tonight. I know it's been a lot of heavy stuff we've been talking about, which is not always easy to discuss. If you're really uncomfortable about discussing this type of thing, usually, thank you for still being here. Thank you for still caring. Thank you for taking time out of your day to face difficult situations through this channel. And thank you for being here and sharing this growth journey with me. I really appreciate you. I love you so much. I hope you'll be happy in your life. I hope you'll find people who resonate with you when you're sharing your vulnerability, who make you feel good in your vulnerability. And I also hope you find people in your life that will hold you accountable after your vulnerability to, you know, high standards and growth for yourself as well. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes. It's human. It's okay to not get everything right. It's okay if we're never perfect. And it's okay to be you. The point is you're trying to improve yourself and you're trying to be the best version of you. And that's all you can do. Don't forget, if you're looking for a book or books, to grab a copy of my Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. I mentioned I got this earlier. This is an autobiographical self-help handbook. It's basically a personal development book in disguise. It teaches you how to manage your pain in multiple aspects of your life, both your internal environments and your external environments, which is not what a lot of people talk about, right? So this is autobiographical story, basically. If you like, an autobiographical account of things that have worked for me in managing fibromyalgia, but you can apply these things to anything in your life because it's basically how to reduce pain. So if you've got a lot of pain in your life, then get this book because it will help reduce pain in your life and help to have more energy in your life because, you know, emotional pain causes physical pain. So this is told in a superhero style as well. It does mention asexuality in this book as well, I have to say briefly. So that's me in my superhero costume, Ace Fiber Girl. So yeah, that's on Amazon. Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. Asexual Perspectives, my best-selling book. First book I ever wrote for asexuals. It's got 47 asexual stories, love, life and sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. So it answers pretty much every question you've got about asexuality in terms of love, life and sex. And everything you want to know, like, do asexuals masturbate? Do they watch porn? What's the difference between sexual attraction and sexual desire? What's the difference between sexual attraction and arousal? What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself in regard to asexuality? What advice would you give to people who are just discovering they're asexual? All this type of thing and more. And then if you want to know more about dating and relationship dynamics, grab a copy of Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life. In it, I dissect text messages from a guy in my past to show you what he's saying and what he really means. So if that's something you want to look at, go and grab a copy of Diary Confessions. It's also, again, autobiographical diary book. So yes, go and grab a copy of that. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream. Don't forget, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Send love to everyone. And let's ace it. Love you. Take care. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, everyone else, for being in chat. If I didn't get to your comment or question, I'm sorry about that, but I love you all dearly and I thank you for being here. Take care. Bye.